Hey, did you catch my video last week? I did a room tour and showed what's currently in my display. I'm so proud of my wall. Check it out if you're interested. So, the display I'm making today has been in the works for around 3 weeks now. I normally spend 1 to 2 weeks on the display, but I've been working on this on and off in the background since I finished the Cerebro display. What is it, you ask? Okay, you saw the title and thumbnail. But what is it, you ask? It is the TVA display. I've been wanting to make a proper TVA display ever since Loki Season 1. There are so many memorable locations at the TVA. I actually did a poll back when Loki Season 1 came out and asked which scene should I recreate with Loki and Sylvie. The options were the elevator scene, Lamentis 1, and the Citadel. I was personally rooting for the elevator scene because that's when both figures were screen accurate, or even the Citadel. But Lamentis 1 was the winner. It turned out pretty cool though. I made the floating exploding planet and missed minutes. Eventually, I also got to make the Citadel for He Who Remains. That is still one of my favorite displays. And when Loki Season 2 came out, I started looking at all the scenes thinking about a proper TVA display. There are a couple of memorable locations, like the office area in the very beginning, Ouroboros' office, the war room, etc. But the Temporal Loom room was the main location in Season 2. All the major events happened there. It is, after all, the heart of the TVA. Now, I contemplated on making this, because the Loki and Sylvie figures are in their Season 1 outfits. But the TVA set designs are too pretty not to recreate. And Loki Season 2 is arguably the best MCU project since Endgame. And also, I found something that I think is perfect for this set. So, hello, this is Ken. I like making things. Whether it's repainting my figures or making diorama displays, I love making things look awesome. My goal is to elevate my figures so they can shine on my display. Join my DIY adventure as I ask myself the same question every week. Can I make it? I broke this project down into multiple parts due to how complex this display is. First of all, the loom. This is the thing that I really want to nail. And I knew this would take a lot of trial and error and time to do. So I actually started this 2 weeks ago in my life. The loom consists of 2 major parts, the rings and the branches. I started with the rings. I used my laser engraver to cut out a couple of rings in various sizes. I decided to use MDF boards because paper is just not the right medium for this. The loom needs to be circular and strong enough to contain all the branches, just like the show. Otherwise, the sacred timeline is doomed. Here's the item that persuaded me to make the loom. I found this LED light tube from Dollarama. This will make the loom glow from within. Not only is it the right shape, but it is also rechargeable. I don't have to worry about hiding the wire. But that also means I need to make it so that I can slide the tube out when the battery is low. That is why I have this clear plastic layer over the light, so that nothing is glued directly onto the light tube itself. The skeleton of the loom was a pain to assemble. I wanted to use white glue because the bond is strong, but the slow drying time made it difficult because the parts were shifting around as they were drying. So what I ended up doing was using the white glue first, and then quickly adding UV resin over that to lock it in place, and then let the white glue dry over time. This process was not fun at all. I couldn't rush it because the UV resin on its own wasn't strong enough. I had to wait for the white glue to fully dry. I guess I could have used super glue, but super glue to me is too quick drying, and I don't want my fingers stuck together. The white glue and UV resin method is a bit more forgiving. This actually took me multiple days to do, but it turned out so good. I totally captured the loom's look, and the light slides right in as well. There is a bit of room between the rings and the tube. That's done by design. I left a bit of extra room there so that I can wrap the light with some yarn to replicate the timeline branches. You know, 99% of the time, I actually have no idea if things are going to work out. Because I try to have something done on a weekly basis, what you see are usually my first attempts, with a lot of improvising. And the same thing is happening here. Clearly, I have no idea on how to work with yarn. The idea was to wrap one yarn at a time so I can control the color pattern. And after hours and hours of twirling, I kinda got it to look right, only to realize it didn't fit inside the skeleton frame anymore. So I had to redo it again, but this time with the light already inside the frame. And many more hours later, this is what I got. Yeah, it doesn't look that great. It's supposed to look like it's bursting on one end, but what I discovered was that I can use hairspray to hold the yarn in place. But that's still not strong enough to create that shape. So I went back to Dollarama to see what I can use, and I saw this water bottle. The top part of this bottle has the perfect swirling pattern, and since it's clear, I can just wrap the yarn around this to create the shape I want. Here it is. There's a lot of double-sided tape in there. And here's the moment of truth. Let me shove this onto the tube. And it worked. You can't really tell the end here is made separately. And it looks amazing lit up. Look at that glow. Okay, I'm gonna put this aside. I'm not touching this anymore. Onto the room. I tried keeping the design simple, but in the show, the main floor is actually the second floor. That is why I did this cutout to imply that there's something below it. And to make it look like there's a glass floor, I'm gonna laminate this. The issue is that my laminating pouches are not long enough. I saw somewhere that I can just tape 2 pouches together and it should be able to feed through the laminator. I almost wrecked the machine. I forgot to tape the underside. It could have gotten jammed in the rollers. Luckily, I caught it just in time. It went through fine once I taped both sides down. Now I just need to trim the excess. Perfect. As for the wall, I had the loom printed on the window as my backup plan, in case I failed the loom. But now that I've got my own 3D loom, I don't need this fake 2D one. So let me cut the fake loom out. Alright, time to glue and build the loom room. The issue with this display is that in the show, the room is a giant circular room. But I can't make the display too big, otherwise it won't fit into my cabinet. I also can't make it too tall either. The loom room has a very large and wide window. If I were to make the walls taller, it will mess up the proportions, making the window appear smaller. So, in order to make the room feel grander, I'm gonna add a couple of items. The TVA is full of retro computers, so gotta add some of my own. And this one here has Miss Minutes on it. She is ever present in the TVA. And I have another one here with a diagram of the loom. Another prominent item is the TVA handbook. I love making books for my displays. They are quite easy to make. Just fold some paper in half and glue the pages together. It feels so satisfying once everything comes together. I'm gonna put one on each desk. I'm also gonna add a poster on each wall. And to finish it off, I'm gonna add a couple of steps that go in between the wall and the floor. These steps are in the show too, but the main reason why I'm adding this is because this will be the thing that holds and connects the wall and floor together. Okay, that took a lot of glue, but the room is now whole. All there's left are the desk and computers, so let me glue them in place. and just a few more posters to give the room more life. As for the loom, I need to figure out a way to keep it elevated in the air. I don't like using stands, but in this case, I can't think of any other way to do this. I need a really strong and secure stand to prop it up. So here's the base. I'm just gonna wedge it in here. There we go. Now let's see. Oh, I made a mistake. The stand is too tall. Let me change the design of the stand. Let me see if this is better. Oh great, the center of gravity is off. It's no longer standing on its own. Okay, plan C. I changed the design of the base again. I added a TVA logo to make it prettier, but I moved the slot further back. Ah, that worked. I also cut extra pieces for me to prop it up even higher. Still not tall enough. Let me add a few more. There we go. I ended up raising the base quite a bit, but at least now it's at the right height. Okay, moment of truth. Let's see how it looks lit up. Bam! I have to admit, this is probably the most tedious and the most time spent on the display. So much time was spent waiting for the glue to dry and wrapping the loom with yarn, and laser cutting more pieces because I didn't do my math correctly. But I think this is one of the coolest things I've ever made. By no means is it perfect. I wish I wrapped the room with even more yarn, and tidy up the yarn a bit more. But that process was not enjoyable for me. I was very close to giving up the loom and just print it out instead. But I have to say, I am very happy with how the loom looks when it's lit up. It actually does look like it's glowing from within. And it does look like it's about to blow. What do you think? Do you like my temporal loom room? Let me know down below. Now my plan is to add some more figures into the display, but that'll be the next part. I did pick up Mobius and the updated Loki figure, the one that comes with the Tesseract. Those two should fit perfectly in here, and I hope they release Ouroboros and Victor timely as well. I'd love to add those two into the loom room. Sylvie, I'm not sure. I feel like her role in Season 2 has significantly reduced. I like her more in Season 1. Let's admire this beautiful set a bit more. It is so mesmerizing to look at. Alright, let's end this for the photo shoot. I think I have a love-hate relationship with the loom. It's not that bad when I look at it. It looks pretty cool. But then I also see all the flaws and mistakes I made, or how it's not that show accurate. The branches are too colorful, and they should be more tidy on one end. But when it's lit up with the correct lighting, I can overlook all these issues and just admire it. It may not look that show accurate, but it still looks pretty epic, especially considering that all the material used for the loom are from Dollarama. There are a lot of things I can nitpick about this display, like how the loom is slightly slanted, the room isn't large enough, or the proportions are off. But to be honest, these things don't bother me that much, because I feel like I captured that Season 2 TVA feel. This display has this retro bunker feel to it. Okay, the actual room from the show didn't give out that feeling, but the season as a whole did. It was a race against time to fix the loom, and I feel like I've captured that feeling to a degree. Like you feel uneasy when looking at this display, especially when I turn off the background light. It has that doomsday vibe to it. Anyway, I'm happy with how the TVA loom room turned out. It's holding together by hopes and dreams, and hopefully the timeline doesn't explode on me. Give this video a like and subscribe to see more content like this. I want to do a part 2. I feel like there's potential for this to become even bigger. But until then, stay inspired and I'll see you soon. I can make it, so can you.